Good morning, John. How are you doing?
Hey, good morning, John. I'm doing great. Great. How about yourself?
Doing good. It's hot and humid here in Dallas. I assume it's probably a little bit nicer up in Connecticut, right?
No, we had a
No.
thunderstorm last night and this morning. It's humid. It's kind of overcast, so not a great day.
Oh no.
Not a
Oh no.
great
Well, we'll
day.
make it a
No.
great day with this show, right? This is our episode 28. Can you believe it?
I can't believe it, John. And it's funny, we're both spending a lot more time, like the rest of the world, working from our home. And one of the things I need to start upgrading is, and I don't know if you know anybody, but I'm thinking about upgrading some of my furniture so I can have a better work environment at home. And maybe that's related to what we're talking about, right?
It absolutely is related. Let's actually bring our guest on. We've got Chris Rao, who is the CIO and the Chief Digital Officer for HNI. And welcome, Chris. And you're from the Chicagoland area, right? How's it going out there? Hopefully, your weather's at least nice this morning, right?
Yeah. Hey, first of all, thank you, John and John, for having me on the show. I'm from the Chicagoland. However, today I'm in Muscatine, which is where the HNI headquarters is.
Ah,
And when I came into the office this morning, it was sunny, beautiful, bright. I can still see light outside. So it's a beautiful day out here.
that's
That's great.
great. That's
And
great.
Chris, you mentioned Muscatine that's about 2.5 hours out of Chicago. That's where the company was founded back in what, 1947, roughly?
That is correct. It was founded in 1947. And the founder's vision was, those days that whole war was going on and wanting to help the veterans who were coming back from the war. So, a small manufacturing entity to help them, to help the well being of the people who came back from the war, the veterans. And that was the vision. And it has been 75 years of continued innovation as well as driving the transformation for the customers. HNI itself is a conglomeration of multiple brands, and we are a leading provider of workplace furnishing as well as residential building products. And at HNI, what we believe is we call it a member owner or member owned company, which is every employee owns the company. So the outcome
Wow.
of whatever we do to the customer is because of how we take care of our own members. So customer transformation also means our own employees, we call them members, our member transformation.
Yeah, well, when I think about diversity, equity, inclusion, and equity, which is a buzzword today, your founders were already thinking about that back in 1947. This idea of equity and ownership and inclusion. I mean, what a visionary with regards to the founders. And here you are today, kind of supplying the marketplace with innovation, right?
Absolutely. I think hindsight is always 2020. We can say that diversity, equity, which is a very big topic for all of us. As you said, the foundation, the very DNA of our company is towards that. Every member is an owner, which means the equity portion, as well as we are doing a lot. Saying that we have the foundation and sitting and not doing anything is not in our DNA. So we are also going through all the inherent bias training and all those kinds of things to improve our own awareness, to help bring in diverse people, diverse technologies, and go towards that equity, inclusion, and diversity in the company.
No,
That's
that's
awesome.
great, and it creates the optimal workplace too. So hey, I wanted to ask if I could. So you all have both commercial and residential clients, correct? The end
Correct.
clients, if you will, right?
Correct.
And one of the things that I had heard, and I think would be really interesting for our listeners to sort of hear how your journey has unfolded over the last couple of years, is that you all are making a big push in both of these areas to start to go direct to consumer, which is a journey that is obviously a little bit more mature, I think, in Asia Pac and in Europe than it is here in North America. But what's been your experience and some of the ups and downs, if you will, associated with that you all have seen?
Yeah, thank you for the question. So let me step back and talk about the harbingers or the business drivers which made us jump on this journey. We were predominantly working with trade partners and architects as well as real estate companies like JLL, CBRE, who in turn work with the procurement organizations of large companies, and we sold the solutions to them. But as COVID started emerging, that is one paradigm. And the second paradigm, as you know, the whole e-commerce paradigm, right? The e-commerce economy is about $5.4 trillion worldwide, and it is $1 trillion within the United States, growing at 7%. So
Wow.
for us not to have one of the channels which is aligned to that paradigm, the big $1 trillion, 7% CAGR paradigm is like a death knell. So having said that, how can we go straight to the consumer? Number one, not just to have that channel, but also to get the voice of customers. As I said,
Yeah.
we work with architects who work with real estate companies and who work with the procurement organization. And finally, the person who sits on the chair, we were very far removed from that person using our assets. Can we short circuit all of that, get to the voice of customer so that we can improve our products, goods, and services to enhance? The question is, where is the human in all of this?
Yeah.
That was the question which drove us into this journey. And the journey, when we jumped on this journey, it was not an easy one, right? Because we were completely optimized as a business to business trade, which is we knew exactly how to take the pipeline, drive the demand, based off of demand, made to order, stocking, logistics, all sorts of, the entire thing was trained towards a B2B. And here we were getting into work from home paradigm, direct to consumer, which is understanding the propensities, the personas of the buyers. And then where is the human in all of this? How can we improve the line of sight? In a B2B business, there are system silos. Your CRM system is different than the ERP system, which is different than the manufacturing operating system and the warehouse and logistics system, call center system. Whereas when it comes to a direct to consumer, that entire line of sight is very, very critical for us to enhance that customer experience, a seamless customer experience, as well as the demand generation and forecasting. It is much easier if you have a CRM system tracking all the B2B demands. But here, even if our competition puts a sale, our demand goes down. So how do we take those kinds of signals and alter our inventory positioning and everything? So starting from lead generation, demand generation, understanding the customer, understanding their journeys, their propensities, personas, and enhancing their wallet share with us, and improving the line of sight as well as the customer service. That was a total journey. It is an end-to-end journey. And what I would like to say in this regard is I come from an e-commerce background. So it is much easier to jump in and say, you know what, let's improve our search engine optimization. Let's improve this, let's improve that. But when we go with a greenfield approach like we did, it is very important to start from the customer inward as opposed to from the system. Where is the human in all of this, and what are their personas? And we start from that journey and revalidate that throughout the technology assets that we deploy.
That's key. And I've got to ask, if I could, JB, before you ask your question, was that difficult to actually pivot to that perspective, which is the customer first, the end customer first? Was it difficult, or?
It was difficult and it was easy. It was difficult because our DNA was totally optimized towards trade partner wants this, and let's jump in and go towards that. Whereas when we said end customer, what is the persona, what is the prototype, is somewhat of a unconscious incompetence when it came to the DNA of the company, because we were so B2B oriented. But the good news was the entire leadership, we wanted to get in, learn that entire journey, understand the direct consumer way better, and then have that line of sight on the seamless customer experience, and create product, goods, and services which were providing the value for the customer as well as the seamless customer experience. So there was support from my boss, who is the CEO, on downwards. All my peers, they were very eager and very hungry for this knowledge, and that helped us accelerate that journey as we went forward.
No, that's great. John can tell you and validate that. So often we see that most enterprise firms have that as the major challenge, how to embrace that perspective first and foremost, right? And so key. So JB, I didn't mean to cut you off. I saw your
No, that's it. This is such an interesting area, because when you think about, Chris, your business, January 2020, we were all in offices. We used office furniture. You design things to be equal, right? So equality. And then COVID hits. We all go home. How did everything get accelerated for how you transition the business? And what would be the outcome that kind of you feel like now you're a better firm from all the learnings over the last 24 months?
Yeah, very good question. Thank you for the question, John. Yeah, as soon as the COVID hit and people started working from home, there was an aha moment for us. It's like, okay, our business is totally optimized towards a B2B, and there is a lot of work from home. What are the opportunities? Actually, two really big opportunities started unfolding. One is going direct to consumer and working with people like you, providing assets which were industry standard assets, but at a lower cost and which could be used. If we just walk into Home Depot and buy a chair, that chair doesn't have the ergonomics that you get when you come into the office. So, how to improve that ergonomics, the well being of the employees. And we also started working with corporations and explaining that instead of them going and buying a chair for $100, we can provide those assets through your company, and you can provide a stipend or whatever it takes for to enhance the well-being of your employees who are working from home. So then we started learning, started creating websites which could be provisioned for each one of those companies, and their employees could come and use a coupon, buy those assets.
Wow.
So it was some sort of a B2B to C kind of an experience, and the second was D2C experience itself. What that did for us is it kept our feet wet in the B2B space, as well as it enhanced our journey in the D2C space. Now, fast forward, some of them are coming back to work, right? There is a lot of discussion going on. I don't know if you saw the Tim Cook, the letters that the employees wrote to Tim Cook. Tim Cook first said from Apple that I will have all the employees come back on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays.
Mm-hmm.
The employees wrote a letter saying, we cannot all come back based off of the fidelity of collaboration. There is no meaning in everyone coming to work and then we sit right next to each other and get on Teams or get on Zoom. There is no collaboration. So there has to be a reason we bring our employees or our members back. So what we are learning in that space, because as a workplace furnishing solutions company, what we are learning is there is a dichotomy of opinions coming out right now, and there is no confluence of a pattern saying that this is the pattern which is emerging, everybody is going to come back. So with that said, the two lessons we already learned, which was the D2C journey and the B2B2C journey, and now that it is very nebulous, and how do we feel comfortable navigating in this nebulous where there is no pattern which is emerging. So that is driving us towards creating modular designs, which means for this entire space we can put some assets and also fungible assets which can be reconfigured if the paradigm shifts. So we ourselves within our company, what are we doing? We have opened our ears. We are moving away from equality to equity. What does that mean? Equality is, let's standardize everything, give every employee the same office. It is the same cubicle, same office, same kinds of furniture. So that was about equality. And that was the paradigm a few years back. Equity is, let's listen to each employee, their personas and their demands, and let's enhance their awareness so that they can come back and educate us on what that confluence of that pattern which should emerge. And based off of that, let's deploy. So we are moving away from that equality to equity. That is influencing our own behaviors, how we manage our organizations, as well as our products, the workplace furnishing product design, which we are going to market with.
Wow, you all are I mean, very sophisticated in your thought leadership, which is really, really cool. And I guess one of the things that's sort of I think the obvious question, if I could ask it, and that is great ideas, great insight, great strategy. And it sounds like the ability to be nimble and resilient during these times where you can't predict, as you had just mentioned, right? It's very, very, very challenging. I assume that to do all this, in addition to your own teams, that you have to partner with other firms and things like that to help as well, correct?
Yeah, yeah, the ecosystem. See, whenever we jump on these kinds of digital transformation, it is that entire ecosystem. And that ecosystem has a three in a box kind of a partnership, what you're talking, John. The first is the business. So let me quickly talk about the business and then I'll talk about the ecosystem. A business which is completely optimized towards a B2B, as soon as we jump into a D2C journey, where everything happens really fast, right? The grooming, the cycle times, the agile sprint cycles, which we are used to deploying assets once a year or having release cycles once a quarter. Whereas we get into this agile methods, every 2 weeks there is user stories which are coming. There is grooming happening based off of what we see in the marketplace. What we see is the personas and propensities of the buyers. So educating the business to bring those user stories, which means all their product managers were becoming software managers, software product managers, because this is a software asset that we are creating, digital asset that is going into market, interacting with our customers. So bringing them on that agile journey, engaging the business, training them, what does a user story mean? Your ownership as a product manager of this particular asset, which is the website or the e-commerce site, what does that really mean? So taking them on that journey, that was very interesting, and we are very successful in doing that in the first 6 to 8 months. And the reason we are successful in that journey, the third piece of that ecosystem is the partner. Where most of the companies struggle in this space is, to build that entire greenfield solution, we can go with a high-tech company, the big consulting companies, whereas the cost is extremely high, right?
Yeah.
And if the cost is really high, it becomes a barrier for entering that market. If I have to put a $30 million capital outlay for us to go from journey all the way up to optimizing my forecasting and inventory management and pick and ship and all those things, it becomes a barrier to enter. So we found this company, Hexaware, which had done an acquisition, and it's called Mobiquity, which brought best of both worlds. The first piece is driving that entire design thinking workshops, customer journeys, proto personas, as well as validating those personas through user testing and all of that, the entire digital journey. So the Mobiquity is the company we partnered with, and they brought that entire journey. They engaged the business as well as technologists and went through that entire journey at a very rapid pace. And as soon as we had artifacts coming out of that journey, turning and pivoting and immediately building that onto technology, scripting, the e-commerce platform. Let's get the Magento. Let's have all the tools, the plugins. So that happened in offshore. So we were able to go from zero to a MVP in first 3.5 months, including all the customer journeys and scripting and
Wow.
jumping in. First, we called it a pop-up store, and then we had an MVP, which is the minimum viable product, and then grooming, every 2 week grooming cycle. The entire pop-up and the MVP was 6 months, pop-up was 3 months, and it was a very, very rapid acceleration going in direct to consumer. So that ecosystem has worked out very well for us, the Mobiquity and Hexaware ecosystem.
Yeah,
Wow.
that you mentioned it's not necessarily about cost, it's about the quality and the agility of the partners. Kind of what you're saying is, Mobiquity and Hexaware, their ability to kind of work quickly with you and your team to deliver those minimal, a viable product. And is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. See, when first I said if we jump into this journey with high-end consulting companies, the capital outlay would have been extremely high.
Yeah.
But if we went with a predominant Indian player to reduce that cost, then we would have struggled with that customer journey mapping and the agility and the high speed listening and driving those design thinking workshops and all of that.
Yeah.
So that is what the combination of Mobiquity and Hexaware brought to the table is best of both worlds. A company which could do those design journeys and accelerated timelines, as well as have the low cost offshore engineers who could then configure the system and build the scripts and everything and go live at the right time.
Wow. Wow. So, hey, we'd be remiss if we didn't. And I know we only have around 9 more minutes. We told you that the time would fly by, and it certainly does, right? But we'd be remiss if we didn't really ask, what you all see as, there's this new trend called the metaverse, right? And especially in your space where people can, now not just visualize, but actually see what things will look like, whether it's at home or in their business and things like that. How do you see that unfolding in particular in your industry and specifically within HNI?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Actually, this is a very significant technology paradigm that we cannot ignore. Having said that, for my own IT team, I coined the term in our last town hall, I coined the term bootstrapped unicorn. We want to
I
co-create
like that.
products,
I
goods, and
like that.
services, which gives us $1 billion in the upside. That is the term, which is the unicorn startup. And bootstrap, which is we'll self-fund ourselves. So I said to my team, let's create a non-fungible asset or a non-fungible token and put it into some metaverse. I don't care whether we go to Roblox or whatever, let's create that. And the reason is, first, anytime we get into that journey, we have to get.
You're on mute.
Chris, I think you went on mute real quick. You're still on mute, Chris.
You're on mute.
Chris, you're on mute. Can you hear us, Chris? I'm wondering.
Hey, Chris, you're on mute.
Can you hear us, Chris? You're still on mute. Chris? I'm sure he's saying some great things too. I don't want to be missing this. Chris, you're on mute. You're on mute. Can you hear us? There we go.
Sorry about that. I don't know how that happened.
You have to repeat that because I'm sure it looked like it was going to be great stuff. So
it was so
John,
magical.
I cannot hear you.
So you got to tell us all over
John,
again.
I'm unable to hear you, but I will just talk about the the metaverse journey. So having said that, the companies, let's say there is a XYZ company in New York who buy our assets and our solutions. If they want to enhance their member experience or their employee experiences, where they can have a virtual world as well as a physical world, we can provide those NFTs or those metaverse assets that they can deploy so that their physical universe as well as their virtual universe for their employees are the same. So those are some of the use cases we are playing with, but the patterns are emerging and we are very conversant and we are keeping our ears very close to the ground to see what patterns are emerging.
That's amazing. Do you think experience?
John, I am unable to hear you. If you can type the question. Sorry about that.
Oh, is it?
Can you hear? Can you hear me? Can you hear John Westfield? Can you hear John Westfield?
No,
I don't think he could hear. Okay, so let's type our questions for him. Sorry, folks, about the technical difficulties, but we will type our questions to him. He's on a private chat with us right now.
Will Mobiquity help with NFT? Actually, Mobiquity is a partner with us in the entire digital space. They are working with us on multiple things, the entire AR, VR technology. One of the things I did not talk is how are we digitizing this entire journey, the customer journeys, right? Even in the B2B space, can we use assets, AR, VR, for space design, for measuring the space and putting our digital assets and get a heuristic of how that workplace looks like? So we are working with Mobiquity in doing that self-service space design for the B2B space. And we are also converting some of those things into the NFTs. And we are working with Mobiquity in that space, yes. Sustainability, a very big topic for us, John. So it is very big for us, not because our customers are asking us to reduce the footprint, the carbon footprint. We always have focused on the social consciousness of a corporation. So we are doing a lot in this space. We want to be the industry leaders in sustainability. And there is a lot of technologies and data which is coming into play. I'll give some examples of it, right? We call it losing fat, our products losing fat. What that means is, there is an analogy that there was a builder, and when they came back with the design of a building, they asked, or he asked, that what is the weight of this building? And they could not give an answer. But later on, they computed the weight of the building based on the concrete, the doors, the glass panels, and everything. And he said, I want the same stability of the building with half the weight. And they were able to design. And that's the same concept for us, right? If we make our products more agile, more nimble, less weight, it reduces the transportation and logistics cost, as well as enhances the well-being of the people who install our products because it's not heavy. So there is that wellness, the sustainability, as well as looking at our raw materials. Where do we procure them from? Is it the proximity of those procurement, and having that vendor collaboration so that we don't have products coming from thousands of miles, which increases the logistics cost, as well as being able to optimize our routing when we ship it, looking at the products, looking at PVC versus ABT, all those chemical compositions, and reducing all the chemical composition, which is toxic. So we are driving the standards in this space, and we are very happy where we are right now with that.
That's cool. We typed another question for him. Can you hear us, Chris, or no?
Yeah, I see weightless. I'm on the same bandwagon. I'm cutting down on the carbs and going weightless.
What advice can you give our listeners with regards to, your journey and future proofing?
John, I'm still having a hard time hearing.
Oh.
All right, we typed another question for him to respond to. There we go. So we're asking him, how do you help companies really start that journey of future proofing and being flexible?
In future proofing, the very first thing I would say is put on the listening ears. Number one, help your own employees improve their awareness so that they can come back. And one thing I tell all my direct reports is, the future of workplace is more engagement, not just communicating to them, but engaging them, right? Having said that, for example, if I have a management toolkit in which I have a hammer, for every mistake they make, we use the hammer. So I tell all my direct reports, don't have a hammer in your toolkit. Make it a safe place for them to come, experiment, learn, and as well as enhance their awareness so that they can come back with ideas and we can listen to that. Our job is to co-create with the business as well as with the employees of our organization. So the only thing I will say is make it a safe place for them to come and work. Collaboration is more important. It is not a knowledge-based economy anymore. It is a collaboration-based economy. So drive trust, drive collaboration, drive ownership, and push the decisions downward. And just enable, engage, and have fun. This is no brain surgery, so have fun in the process.
Thank you so much, Chris, for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it, and thanks for having me on the show.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Sorry about the technical difficulties, everybody, but hey, we got through it. Luckily, we have a private chat between all of us, and boy, I'll tell you, John, he and his company are so far advanced compared to most people that we talk to, right? I mean, literally, I am so impressed that they're embracing, all these concepts. I love the fact that front and center was listening, not just to the client, but also to the customer, to the employees. They're thinking about not just the next step ahead, but 2, 3, 4 steps ahead. Wow. Right.
Yeah. I tell you, John, I'm going to do my best to try to convince HNI to invite me to one of those workshops. Because with Mobiquity, because that sounds amazing.
I know. I'd love to see how one of those unfolds as well. Yeah, I think the process itself has got to be fascinating, right? It's just really refreshing to see an organization with such a sense of, first of all, they're excited about what they do, but they're really, really looking forward and figuring out how to best position and to keep best positioning as things change in the marketplace. And I think that that's the key for anybody. And again, I keep on saying this, and he kept on saying this too, and you have too. It's about listening. It's about listening and quickly adapting and responding when you listen. And nothing could be more important, right?
No, absolutely, John. It's a great show. Great. It's not just desk furniture, right? For the office.
It isn't. It isn't.
It's so much more. And the data they have on consumers and the workplace is probably it's like none other, because they're so entrenched inside of the world of business and frankly the work from home. So really interesting. John, what do we got coming up next in June 23rd?
Yeah. So on Thursday, June 23rd, our episode 29 is going to be dedicated to a fun topic called innovation, right? Can't wait for it. It's going to be great. We have some great speakers lined up. Very, very excited about it. And we'll see everybody in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. And then, John, don't forget the retail event is
coming up. Yes. So I did want to mention that as well. So on Wednesday, the 13th of July in New York City, ISG is holding its Consumer Services Tech Exchange, which includes retail CPG, travel, transportation, hospitality, and logistics. We're going to be talking about all these types of topics that we've been talking about on our show today, and other topics, including innovation and ideation, how to prepare for the future and future-proof your company. It'll be a great mix of enterprise clients and technology service providers and experts from ISG for a fun day in New York City. So we'll flash up a real quick link to the website where you can register. We're hoping to see everybody there. And with that, John, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody. And sorry for the technical difficulties, everybody.